Hello, time travelers. Welcome to the Aging Journey podcast, an actual play podcast where we go back in time and play RP games themed around time and growing up in a variety of systems. I am your game master, Tanya, and this is The Red Bridge, a children's fantasy adventure using the Kids on Bikes system inspired by works such as The Phantom Tollbooth, Alice in Wonderland, Jumanji, and The Wizard of Oz. We are playing Kids on Bikes, a tabletop role-playing game that allows players to explore a mysterious and supernatural world set in a small town during the 1980s and 90s. Our players embody characteristics called tropes and roll dice based on their brains, brawn, fight, flight, charm, and grit. The higher the stat, the better their skill. Each player has a top stat where they roll a d20 and a bottom stat where they roll a d4. In this game, dice explode, where if you roll the maximum on a die, you get to roll again, infinitum. Our players for this campaign were made from scratch, and tropes are custom. There may be mature content depicted in our gameplay, but the players and I are using safety tools, and all content warnings will be in the description below. You can listen to the audio of the podcast on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, or the Aging Journey website, or watch it on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter, join our Discord, or support us on Patreon. All links will be in the description. Also, don't forget to subscribe. Well, I think that wraps up the spiel. Enjoy the journey. In this version of our sessions, unlike the session 0, where those characters remembered kind of every detail of their experience, because, they were 4 years in the future, so they had time to do things where they would be able to remember stuff. You guys have yet to go back yet, so at the moment, all you all have are, feelings. And this was created at the beginning when we very first started the campaign. And Willow, out of all of you, has the strongest feelings. There would be,
really?
Yeah, you all have different levels of feelings of things that you remember about the game, from it was the best experience ever to there's something very, very wrong with it. And out of all of you, Willow is this is the best thing that ever happened to all of us, because it's your feelings. And so it gets spread to everybody else, as you guys can see. So I would say that if you guys are exchanging information, that I need to know, does Jimmy know that Juke has the board game and the other pieces?
Oh, yeah.
From what we have talked over, he at least noticed that Juke's got something. He doesn't know exactly what it is. I don't think Caleb told him exactly what it was.
I don't remember if the phrasing was he has a piece of the game or if he has the board game, but we can go with a piece of the game.
Yeah.
So Caleb knows, because I think Juke at last session actually showed you, oh no, he only showed you the tag.
But Caleb knows it's a board game of some kind.
Yes. So the things that Juke has, essentially he has almost basically half of the game, half of the pieces that you need. I think, Jimmy, you have a piece, and then
I have the bridges, and I had another piece. I don't know how the conclusion of that's going.
What piece was that?
I had the train, but it was in the toy house before it all got shuffled around.
Yeah, so you no longer have the train.
Yes.
And from what I can tell, other than what we've talked about in game, that Willow, I don't think, even as many times as you've tried to get it out of her, I don't think you said that Willow has told you, number one, exactly what she has and what her actual plans are. Has she ever actually said that to you, out of her mouth, or is this all conjecture?
I've tried multiple times to get her in character and a little out of character, but mostly in character. Then having conversations so Jimmy's putting pressure on. Are you going to tell him anything? And she's like, all Jimmy can tell is that she's different. She's a little bit more edgy and upset, and that she's trying to go after the game. But she hasn't told me any more than that.
Excellent. Okay.
I only put a couple more pieces together when Jimmy talked to Caleb, because the main reason Jimmy talked to Caleb was out of concern for Willow, because he didn't know exactly what was going on, but he knew Willow was doing something.
Yeah, that makes sense. Willow is an interesting character. Let's just say that. So,
I feel kind of bad because from what Caleb understands, or at the very least from what I'm understanding, is that Willow is doing something, one, to try to impress Caleb to some degree, which is ridiculous because she's never needed to before, and two, to get somewhere, which I'm guessing is of Arya. Well, out of character. Caleb is I just mild panic in character. That's about it.
yeah. Well, I think at the beginning of this gameplay, when we started the first arc and we all talked about what everyone's goals were, you all talked to me about the one-on-one, and then we kind of did a check-in at the first part of arc 2. You guys, it sounds like, I'm not gonna tell everyone's goals, but everyone's goals are kind of the same because you all haven't really made like any leeway towards them yet. So I think the second arc, particularly the finale, which is only in like 3 sessions, so I think it's going to be interesting to see how all of this starts to come to a head.
Yeah.
As you guys go through high school. So, okay, so Jimmy and Caleb, you now both want to have get to all of the pieces first. So
yes,
what does that mean? What are you going to try to do? Are you trying to like steal Willow's pieces?
I think we're more at least from Jimmy's angle, is collecting everything they can before Willow basically take up the supply.
I see. So I'll say about that is that depending on what Caleb knows
and what he's willing to share,
yeah, then there is really no more collecting. At this point, the group as a whole has all the pieces to the game. Yeah.
I will say Jimmy didn't tell Caleb how many pieces Jimmy has.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fair. Caleb's under the assumption that he still needs to find a few pieces anyway. So
right.
It makes sense.
Okay. So depending on how much you guys are trying to share with one another to beat Willow essentially to the punch to getting all the pieces together as a group, I will say, because we've all heard with all the pieces everyone's gotten, you all already have all the pieces to the game. It's just that at some point you're going to have to get them all together in one place.
If Caleb doesn't burn the goddamn board game. Listen, as much as I love this story arc going, the way Caleb sees it is this thing is probably cursed to some degree.
Never know.
And, you know, actually, I don't think he would have told Jimmy at all. His intention is to, like, put a stop to the board game to some degree. Like, I don't know, to get rid of it, to bury it. But I have a feeling the group is going to do something different before he gets a chance.
I mean, I know Jimmy it's more a matter of, is this a threat or a problem rather than is a game. He's just seeing what's happening among the group, especially along with Willow, and he wants to know how to deal with it. So he's more on going along the information gathering side.
Yeah.
Here's my statement on this one. If that is the point that, like, Jimmy is trying to get across, I'm pretty sure Caleb would have, like, given some good forewarning that this thing is probably extremely dangerous or aggravating, but definitely dance around the why of it. He's like, oh, this thing is, you know, it's dangerous. It's going to hurt people. It's going to hurt Willow at this point, which is why I don't know why she's going after it. And trust me, you got to believe me. That's exactly what it is. And just not elaborate.
That's helpful.
Is it?
Hey, you wanted my advice. I'm giving it to you. That was in character, I swear.
Love it. Yeah, I think this is a good mix of people who seem to have a very idealized version of their understanding of the game. Someone that sees it as a very negative thing and someone that sees it as a very positive thing. And then two people who are like, I mean, what's happening?
Juke's completely in the dark.
Yeah, that's kind of Jimmy and Juke, who are just kind of like, what? What even is this?
Yeah.
which is funny because
It's dangerous.
yeah, you're like, this is dangerous, and Willow's like, this is the best thing ever, and everybody else is like, what's happening? So that's really funny. And then in this game, I will encourage you to ask me to roll things when you might not be sure like what to do. So like rolling brains in this scenario, because this is going to be like a contained, almost like a contained one shot. And unlike the last two flashback sequences, you two will be together.
Oh.
You won't be doing a solo. Yes, very interesting. I'm excited for this. I literally was like writing this last night and I was like, oh, they're going to have fun with this. So.
And it's Jimmy and Caleb together.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I'm all for this. I'm all for this. Jimmy and Caleb are now becoming allies for the sake of wanting to help Willow. It's fun.
Hello, time travelers, and welcome to a very special episode of the Aging Journey podcast, inaugural campaign, The Red Bridge. Content warnings will be listed in the description. Let's introduce who we have at the table today.
Hi, I'm Mr. Triggerfish. I'll be playing Caleb Mattentop.
Hi, I'm NotQuietNormal, and I will be playing Jimmy Breach.
And I am TanyaLashea, and I'll be your GM. The summer is over. The crab apple season has ended and high school has begun. Welcome to Madonna High School. Originally built as a warehouse to house the apples from the apple orchard, then later converted to a high school in 1927. The high school's name is rumored to have been named after the Madonna Convent, who used to run the orchard. Now named the Silver Creek Orchard, it is a chilly night tonight, but the moon is high in the sky. The gates are wrought iron to the orchard, but they're closed and they're actually chained shut. There's candlelight coming from the old convent. They're kind of shining through the open windows under the midnight moon. And standing just outside the gates is a tall, thin woman with dark chocolate skin. You can't see her face because she's facing the gate and you are standing behind her. But you can see waist-long frizzy hair that's speckled with gray, a long black duster that kind of sweeps up dust as the wind blows in the night, and a large dark-brimmed hat. In this moment, there's a flash of silver from her hip in the moonlight. And in just a split second, she wheels on her heels, her hand coming from her hips, and there's a silver pistol in her hand, and she points it directly at you, Caleb and Jimmy. Her hat is actually sitting low on her face, but it's not too low. You can see like half of her face. She's a beautiful younger black woman, and she has kind of like golden brown eyes. And she stares at both of you and simply says, "Now, how did you get here?" I need everyone to roll either a flight or a fight. Whichever you think you do in the moment.
We're fighting a woman with a gun.
Yeah?
DC's going to be 9.
Alrighty. Let's do it. I'm all in. 110%. That's a 5. Let's go.
Perfect. What did you do, a flight or a fight?
I did a fight.
A heated fight? I'm gonna do fight.
You're going to do fight. Okay.
Let's go.
What are you guys trying to do?
Caleb was going to try to throw something at her.
Mm-hmm.
This is best attempt at lobbing it to throw her off guard.
Okay. Normal, you're doing fight as well.
Yeah, it was a 3.
DC was 9.
Maybe I just like move in front of Caleb and then beamed in the back of the head because I didn't see.
So, are you trying to also throw something at her?
No, I think Jimmy moves in front of Caleb to kind of get himself in between Caleb and this woman.
Oh, so you're not fighting.
Well, I think he would get in between and then move. I don't know.
It sounds like Caleb's immediate instinct is to protect himself and to be like offensive, like immediately. Like he's going to try to,
Oh, yeah.
like fight her. It sounds like you are trying to defend.
Protect Caleb.
Yeah, defend Caleb. So I'm actually going to ask you to roll a flight.
Okay.
DC still 9.
Oh, it might be better. You never know.
No, it's a 4. I roll 4s for flight.
You got this.
Yo.
Oh.
Okay. Yo.
Wait, did you get 2 4s?
I got 2 4s and a 2, so I got a 10.
There you go. That's a win.
Yeah, so I guess, I'll interpose myself between the woman and Caleb. And then kind of have a defensive fists up.
Now, this woman that's in front of both of you has her pistol out, her duster blowing in the wind in this silent midnight. And as she says to both of you, now what are you doing here? Caleb, you grab something from what you think is probably your bag, because from the last time you guys remember, it was the first day of high school. Caleb, where were you going in high school? Like, what were you doing?
I think last time we left off, Caleb was in class and he was getting ready to either talk to Willow or talk to Juke after school.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess he was probably walking through the hall on his way or something.
Okay. Do you think you would have your book bag on you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He has a heavy textbook in there somewhere.
Okay. Yeah, Jimmy, what was Jimmy doing?
Would this have been near the end of the school day, middle of the school day?
It's exactly where we left off. So it would have been before the auditorium.
He would have been chilling out near like the clubs. He would have been hanging out there trying to check things out.
Okay. So Caleb is walking through one of the hallways. Now, Caleb, the last time we left and Willow had been taken by the vice principal, the next thing you two were supposed to be doing was to go through the process before the auditorium meeting at noon. So are you saying you did that and you have your books in your bag?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Okay. And then Jimmy, you hadn't even gotten there yet, so I'm going to say you might have your backpack, but it's still empty.
Okay.
But because you were in the club's area, just kind of checking that out.
It's got my action figures and stuff in it, all my junk.
Excellent. Okay. So it has all of your important things.
Exactly.
I am going to roll for this mysterious woman. I'm going to say it's nighttime. It's very, very dark because other than the candlelight and the moon, that's really the only light around here. So I am actually going to roll her brains to see if she can figure out that you two are just children.
Wait.
And are unarmed.
This is very bad.
What is she hunting?
You didn't ask. You guys are just reacting right now, so you're gonna have to see what happens.
Woman with gun.
If we survive the gunshot, I'll make sure to ask.
Yeah, if you guys survive, then you can ask her all the questions. So she has.
Can we?
Can you survive or can you ask the questions? So she has a 1d8. Oh my goodness. So this is what happens. She cocks her pistol as she sees Caleb, you are digging in your bag, and she can't really see your bag very well. So to her, it looks like you are going to your hip because you've maybe taken your bag from your shoulder and you have it next to you so you can put your hand in. But from her side, she probably thinks that you are grabbing some sort of a pistol or weapon from your hip. And so she cocks her gun, and in the same moment, Jimmy flies in front of you and she pulls the trigger. In this moment, though, neither of you get hit because the bullet sails past both of you and it hits a figure that was standing directly behind you, Caleb. This figure gets hit by this bullet and falls to the ground, and the woman kind of like rolls her revolver bullets again and recocks, and she's continuing to point it to you. But at this moment, you all can kind of see around you that you are not the only people here now. From the shadows in front of this huge gate, there are a group of, you assume, women because they're all wearing jet black habits and robes, but their faces are also completely covered by black masks, almost as if they have like a ski mask on, but the black mask is more of like a veil. They are moving very slowly, but they're moving towards you all, and they're basically surrounding both you and this woman who is now kind of moved her gun from you two to them because they are at this point the biggest threats. As you see, they are all sporting giant scythes. So there are huge metal blades that are glinting in the moonlight, and they are beginning to surround you. So, what are we all doing now?
Some here don't seem real. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I remember being in class like a few minutes ago. Now it looks like I'm part of the sacrifice for some reason.
You can roll brains to try and figure out if this is real.
Everything is.
It's a D4, so I'm expecting another explosion. Like,
I mean, this might be a little easy.
that's a
I'm
2.
gonna say the DC is I was gonna say DC is a 3.
Aw,
But that's a
cheated.
fail. But you're very close, so I'll leave that. Normal, what are you doing?
Jimmy's usually pretty brave, but this is a very odd circumstance. I think he would look to Caleb to kind of see what Caleb's doing, but then also switch position and like put himself in between Caleb and the nuns, and just look around, see if there's maybe a weapon like a tree branch or anything around that he can pick up to defend himself.
Sure. Okay. Roll a fight. I'm going to make the DC just a 6. You guys are in a kind of open clearing, and it's very, very dark, but you are in like not a dusty plain, but it's pretty open. So you should be able to see like trees and things.
15.
In front of you, as you move yourself from the other side of Caleb, where you were standing between him and the mysterious woman, when you move to the other side, you're now between him and the downed nun. And you can see on her person is a giant scythe.
Oh yeah, I'll grab that.
You grab the scythe and it feels hefty. This is well made and very sharp. You don't want to be on the receiving end of this bad boy. But you are able to brandish that between Caleb and the other nuns as they come in towards you. And as this all happens, the woman kind of runs up closer to you, not very close. She's still keeping her distance because she doesn't know who you are. But I think as she gets closer, she realizes that you both look very strange. Number one, very interesting clothing. She's kind of looking at both of you, and she's also seeing that you're both quite young. And so she, again, fires her gun at another nun who takes a bullet and falls. But just as that one falls, the one that's directly in front of you that you took the south from, you see begins to wiggle and begins to rise again. And she looks at you two.
Zombie nut.
We need to get moving. And then she just books it in the hole that she made in the nuns. And she's expecting you to either follow or not follow. She's not waiting.
Caleb's not the best at flight. You know what? I got a ton of adversity tokens to spare.
Okay.
Oh, wait, what's Jimmy's plan? Does it look like he's about to fight or run?
He's positioned to fight, but if everyone else runs, I think he'll run.
I will say that there aren't just like a few nuns. As people are coming out of the shadows, there's like 20. There's a lot.
Oh yeah, Caleb is grabbing Jimmy's arm and just kind of like mutters, "We gotta go now."
Yeah, I think Jimmy will follow suit.
Okay. I'll say with the woman's help, as she is kind of still in front of you all, and she's making sure that the path is clear since she has the weapon, like a weapon that she can fire. I'll say that the DC is not going to be as high. So both of you run flight, and this is really just to see if you can keep up with her and get wherever she's going. So I'll say DC is going to be 5.
Oh, not possible. Ugh, damn. I'm just gonna put 2 adversity tokens into that.
Okay.
Oh, you know what? I have a lot to spare. You said the DC is 5, right?
Yep.
Here's what I'll do. I'll pump, because when I help other people, when I spend adversity tokens to help my friends, I'll spend 2 to buff Triggerfishes up to, or spend 1 to buff Trigs up to a 5.
Perfect. And I can spend 4 to put normals up to a 5.
Okay. Now, both of you are running as fast as you can following this woman. I will say that you're both are running. You're able to keep up with her, but she is fast and she knows where she's going. It is even darker here because you guys start running from this open area that you were into what looks like huge trees. You're not sure what these trees are. You can't really see. It's quite dark and the moonlight is being lost because you guys are going into the trees. But she is going to a certain place and she gets to a bit of an iron door that it has stone all the way around it, and she pushes it and runs inside. And you guys follow her and the door closes behind you. You 3 now find yourselves in, let's call this an underground tunnel, although the smell is definitely giving sewage. There's a bit of a brown, murky water that you all are wading through, and she's kind of directly in front of you. Who's behind her directly, and then who's behind who? So what's the order?
I think Jimmy's taking the back and just kind of keeping an eye behind them.
Okay. So then it goes the woman, Caleb, and Jimmy. At this point, she kind of motions you two to kind of follow her as she follows a path that only she knows. As you guys go through the tunnels, you take a left, you take a right. She is definitely very familiar with this area until finally she kind of slows down. So far, you guys have been moving very quickly to get out of that situation, but now she kind of slows down and you guys stop and just sit there or stand there and waiting in this water in silence as she sort of just looks up to make sure that she can't hear anyone following you all. And once she believes that you guys have outran them, she holsters her pistol and looks to you two. She kind of looks you both up and down, a bit confused. You two are children. You're boys.
Yeah, and here's someone with a gun. And we're in, what, a forest? What? Did I walk into a play or something? What's going on?
When you say, yeah, you're someone with a gun, she kind of looks at you like you've lost your mind. She's just going well, of course I have a gun, son. It's dangerous out here. And she kind of looks you both up and down again at your clothes. Where are you from?
Where are you from?
And he makes a good point.
This is Shady Creek.
Yeah, we're from Shady Creek too. It's just, not looking like something out of Witchlight.
She sort of looks around and then continues to walk. We can't stay here for long. I don't know who you are or where you came from, but you don't look like any locals I've ever seen around here before, and I know everybody.
Caleb got a weird feeling and he wants to ask this question. You said where, but what date is it for you? This is the 1990s, right? People don't usually carry around guns.
She kind of cocks an eyebrow at you. The 90s? Is that something younger people are saying? Is that what? I'm not sure what that means.
1990s, new age televisions, radios, bikes, that kind of stuff.
She stops for a moment as you guys get to a crossroad in the sewer, and kind of she looks right and looks left, and you see that she takes a piece of chalk out of her pocket and makes a mark on one of the walls, and then puts it back in her pocket. And she goes, "I have no idea what you're doing, what you're saying, son. The year is 1927. Don't go down this way when you come back here." And then she turns around and walks down the left side.
The right side she marked with the chalk, right? Or the left side?
She marks the right side.
Jimmy, you heard that right? 1920 is what, Yeah, stupid. This doesn't make sense.
That's a long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
I'd keep up, you two, lest you let the rats eat you alive.
Yeah, maybe we should follow her. Caleb's gonna try to pick up the pace just to get behind her.
Jimmy will follow behind, just keeping glancing back behind us.
You two continue down this side of the sewer until you finally find yourselves at another entrance. This is clearly a completely different entrance from where you guys came in, because when she opens this one and you guys come out, this is a huge, expansive, like manicured lawn. It's very pretty, but if this is Shady Creek, you've never seen a property like this before. Right in front of you, not only is there a huge, beautifully manicured lawn, but there's also an enormous mansion, way bigger than any house you guys have ever seen. And she closes the gate behind you, kind of looks at both of you.
So,
What is this place?
yeah, one thing to add on to what he said. Do we even know you? What's your name?
So let's do this. As you guys come out of the sewers, I'm going to say that this area has a lot more light. There are actually street lamps up in this area. It's clear that you guys are more closer to the residential area. So there's like a road down the street. There's a beautiful cream-colored, like I'm going to say 25. It's not brand new, but it's like a beautiful 1925 Ford, clearly luxury vehicle that's in the driveway. And then this huge mansion here, which you guys have never seen in Shady Creek before. But there is more light here. And so as you guys come out of the sewer and she continues to walk you across the lawn, you can now see a lot more of like Shady Creek, or this town you guys have known to grow up in your entire lives. You can also see more of her. So now she has taken off the wide brim hat because she is no longer like needing to hide herself. She's also moving quickly across the lawn, but she is going specifically to the mansion. And you can see that there are lights on inside the mansion, so somebody is home. But she takes her wide brim hat off and looks back to you, Caleb. And now you guys can see better her face. She looks very familiar. And now that you can see like her hair and her dress, she definitely has long, like peppered silver and white and gray hair, but those are long dreadlocks. And she looks to both of you. What did you just say?
You know, your name? Pretty sure people you said 1920? They have names still?
She looks at you, Caleb, and then she looks to Jimmy, and then she kind of looks back at you and... Are you two sick or on something? Whoa. Listen, this is a terrifying night for anybody that doesn't know what's going on. I would suggest you to get back to wherever you came from as soon as possible.
That's the thing. It's not where. I mean, if you haven't guessed already, and frankly, you're the one wielding a deadly weapon, so you should be sharp enough to use it. We're not from here. I don't mean that as a place. Look at us. I mean, look at us. And like Caleb's gonna like hold out like a piece of his denim jacket.
Mm-hmm.
This look like it comes from here?
I mean, I am not too big on fashion myself, but you do look strange, but I know a lot of strange people, so unfortunately, your clothing or your attire choice doesn't necessarily help the situation. I understand you guys are from somewhere else. I'm assuming not Plymouth or I don't know, one of the neighboring towns, but I don't know what to do with you. I have things to do that need to get done right now, and I'm not sure how I can help you.
Jimmy, do we tell her?
I mean, probably.
Should technically save us, even if she was pointing the gun at us originally.
Yeah.
Let's say you guys are walking and talking. So at this point, you guys have made it to the side entrance of this large mansion.
Listen, lady, you're not gonna really believe us, but We're from the 1990s. We were just in school, regular day. And now we're, well, technically still in Shady Creek, but not the right time.
The side entrance is a beautifully ornate door, and she kind of bangs on it as you speak to her. And you notice that she does hear what you said, but it's clear that her mind is elsewhere. Like, she has plans and thoughts, and she is on a mission to do things. And really, when she bangs on the door, and you can kind of hear that someone is inside, who's going to be coming to open the door, she kind of turns around to you when you say "lady," and she kind of gives you a bit of a smirk. She goes, "Lady? I've never heard that before. Interesting. 1990s.
You are a lady, right?"
Sorry, that one got me a bit.
She kind of giggles at you, Jimmy. She goes, I've never actually been called that before, young son, but I suppose you are welcome to. Most people around here just call me madam. And the door opens, and there is a young man that's standing there, and he opens the door, and she walks in and has you two follow her. Inside of this side entrance, it's kind of like basically like the side entrance where you would come in and like put your boots down and maybe put your like coats and hats up. So it's very small. But then it leads into a bigger area that's essentially kind of like a butler's pantry area where there's some storage, and then an even bigger room. So you guys are kind of walking through this beautiful hallway. This place is ornately decorated. Whoever lives here is very wealthy, and kind of every part of this, the walls and even the furniture is a bit gaudy, but for the time it's like probably very high class. But there's like a lot of, this is a lot of like, golds, and there's a lot of like cream colored things, and there's a lot of like rich walnut wood. Like, it's very beautiful, but like, what a style, essentially.
It's so cliche.
For the 90s, yeah. So she continues to walk. The gentleman that opened the door, he didn't actually say anything. He just simply kind of nodded, and then he went about his way after opening the door. But she knows where she's going. So she continues to walk through the halls. And as she does, she kind of starts to take off like her duster, and, she's getting a little bit more comfortable. As she takes off her duster and kind of slings it over her jacket, you guys can now see what she's wearing. She's wearing like a really nice fitted like vest and pants and like boots. She looks like she's kind of given 1920s gangster, to be honest. And the duster was kind of covering all of that. But she kind of continues to walk. You boys hungry?
Sure.
Why not?
She walks you through the main corridor in this wing of this mansion, and it has like a huge staircase that goes up to the second floor that you can kind of see there's a balcony, and then it also has another door that goes to a smaller kitchen, which is probably the servant's kitchen. And so she goes in there, sets her duster down, and begins to kind of rummage through the fridge, just kind of throwing things on the table, just kind of giving you guys whatever you'd like, as she kind of eats things herself. As you all get settled in the small kitchen, you can hear someone coming like down the stairs and coming to your area. And this is where we all kind of are. While you guys are here, a lot of things has happened. And I'll say that you both have, I'm assuming, been kind of looking around, being like, what's happening? So this was a long walk. This was a walk across, a whole like yard, and then like through a whole bunch of like corridors. And now you're standing in front of this woman. And now there's like bright light in here because this place is electrified. So there's like bright lights. You can see her very clearly now. Whoever wants to can make some brains roll to try to see if they can figure out what's happening. They can try to figure out who these people are, where you are, et cetera, et cetera.
I definitely will.
Let's see what happens.
Okay. Before you roll, let me know first what you're trying to figure out so that I can give you the proper DC.
I want to know if in my research into the histories of Shady Creek, if I have learned anything that seems similar to this, do these guys stand out as historical figures? Jimmy is very suspicious that this is a previous Shady. That's his running theory.
Interesting. So what are you trying to figure out? Are you trying to figure out the mysterious woman? Are you trying to figure out something about like the place you're in? Like, give me something specific.
Specifically, the woman in the mansion.
Okay. So I'll let you guys roll a couple of times, depending on what you want to figure out, and we'll see what you figure out at the end. So let's say you want to figure out what this mansion is. I'll say that you can roll your brains as you guys were like coming into the mansion. So you're trying to recollect if you recognize this place. And so your DC there, actually, you tell me, what do you think your research knowledge would be?
He looked at a lot into like the origins of Shady Creek. So if this is involved, if this is a place that was Shady Creek in the past, I think he'd have a good idea of what it is.
Okay. Well, since you looked into the history, I'll say that you would have to recognize something as you walked across the lawn. You'd have to recognize it, and then you'd have to put it together with something that you already know. That's not going to be that difficult if you understand what Shady Creek, used to look like back in the day. So let's do a DC of 6 for your brains.
I don't know if there were any old photo. 11. Let's go.
Okay. So you do recognize 2 things. One of the things you recognize is actually as you guys were standing there and she turned around amused at Caleb's strange use of the word lady and then your questioning. She found that very amusing. And you remember that she said her name was Madam, or most people called her Madam, and you found that very interesting. But as you're standing on the side of the mansion, ready to go in, and the gentleman is about to open the door, if you were to look to like your left, where you guys are, you would actually see that there is a beautiful like garden area right where the front door is. And there's also an iron name of this estate. And I'll say that you notice that it says Clementine Estate. And based on the many, many times you have gone to Clementine Park, if your estimation is correct, for as large as this residence is, like this is a huge mansion, and then this is a huge like space of beautiful manicured lawn, it would make sense that this would be Clementine Park. So I'll say you learned that. So what was the second thing you wanted to learn?
Mainly if I recognize the lady from any of the history books or any of the public records.
Okay, so that's going to be another brains roll. And I'll say this one's going to be lower because it should be fairly easy, particularly when you guys all sit in the light. So I'm going to give this a DC 4.
5. Lucky.
Indeed. You've been kind of putting the pieces together since the very first time you saw her, even in the moonlight. Her silhouette looked very similar to a silhouette you've seen before. And as you all are going through the tunnels, and then when you get to the mansion and you finally get her under the light and she takes her hat off, you've definitely seen that face before. And then now, as you all are sitting in the kitchen and she's very brightly lit and her coat is off, you can clearly see her entire figure. You can see her hair. You can see her face. This woman looks exactly like Vidalia Shady. Caleb, what were you looking for?
I think Caleb was actually originally trying to figure out it's Vidalia.
Okay. What were you looking for, or what were you trying to figure out, and where and when, etc.?
I think Caleb's gonna try to get a bearing on his surroundings, see who he can talk to, try to get some information out of this. Because right now he's under the assumption that this is some weird, well, I hate to say it, but he might be in a little bit of denial, thinking this is some kind of weird dream or daydream he's having.
Okay.
So I guess he's just trying to figure where the cracks in this are, like what information is around here that makes this thing not real. Because he doesn't want to believe this is an actual thing that happened.
Okay. I will say, as you all walk through this mansion to the little side kitchen, you see the gentleman and things like that. At this point, I think the confusion comes from the fact that how is this real? Like, there needs to be something that makes sense. So I'll say that this would be a very high brains roll if you're trying to do brains, but you could in this moment choose to do grit instead.
What's the DC, if I may ask? Because it may be easier to roll explosions on brains than it is to roll like 2 explosions on grit.
For brains, it's probably going to be like a DC 12.
And the grit roll.
Well, if you chose grit and you're really trying to figure out not even if this is real, but how this can be real, you know how you can do that. There's always a question you can ask, and it will be usually answered, whether you want it to be answered or not.
Are you talking about asking Avaria?
You can ask out in the ether if this has something to do with that blasted game.
Damn it. Oh, come on. This is rude. This is uncalled for. God damn you, Tanya. All right. I think as he's just perceiving this, he may not consciously try to ask out into the ether, but his just thoughts are purely, what part of this makes sense? How could this make sense? Something isn't right. It's not part of the game, is it? Is it part of the game? Can't be. He's kind of like just like repeating these thoughts in his head.
I'm assuming you still have the obsidian.
Oh yeah, it's always in his bag.
Excellent. I'll say that you asked this question, and so your grit roll is going to be a 5.
I can definitely make that. Let's see. Oh, well, it exploded. Should I roll again?
Of course.
Alrighty. That is a 17 total.
Wow. With a 15 over the DC, you get quite a feeling. In fact, you get an answer you really probably don't even want, but it answers the question for you. You can kind of hear like crunching. Like it sounds like metal on metal. Like a it's like doing that. And it's coming from your book bag.
Caleb is going to reach into his bag. He doesn't know anything that crunches like that.
Mm-hmm. You rummage in your bag and you find the item that is moving is the flat obsidian piece, which is now changing. The pieces are moving again, but it's not turning into a cube. In fact, you don't know what the hell it's turning into. Do you keep it in your bag or do you take it out to look at it?
He's going to take it out.
You take it out and you kind of hold it. Jimmy, you also see this as you are putting all of this together of what's happening. And Caleb, unless you're hiding it, the woman is going to turn around as she's like putting food on the table and look directly at you and this thing. And she's going to stop dead in her tracks.
What's it doing?
The obsidian. So before, when the obsidian was a cube, it was pretty large and then it became a flat piece. Now it's literally folding into itself as if it was a piece of paper, but you can hear that it's like metal. And then when it folds, it like then dissolves. So it's literally turning into a different object. And when it's done, it turns into something you've never seen before. But Jimmy, you have seen it. It is essentially the same shape, but there's like a key at the end of it. So like it looks like a skeleton key, but like the skeleton part, the long part at the top, looks like a shape that Jimmy has seen before. And Jimmy, as you're looking at it, even without a brains roll, you'd be able to see that it looks like the talisman that you found in the box in the warehouse, the top part. And then the bottom part is a key. It looks like a kind of like a skeleton key.
So it turned into like a key with a talisman.
It did.
Okay.
And she looks at you two, and now she originally was kind of like amused. She was like a little confused, but like she really wasn't paying either of you any attention because she didn't know what was going on with you two, but she had other things on her mind. But once she sees that item literally change in your hand, she looks at the item and looks directly into your eyes. And she just goes,
Is it all right if Caleb responds immediately? Does he know that? Does he see that Vidalia is looking at the key?
well, this is not Vidalia. And I don't think you've figured out who she looks like yet. Because I think right now you just wanted to ask how this was happening.
Does Caleb notice that she is looking at the key, like now paying attention?
Oh, yeah. She is 100% paying attention.
You gonna pay attention to us now?
She kind of looks at the key and looks at you, and she goes, "Boy from the future, was it?"
There we go. Yeah. If you believe it.
She kind of puts both of her hands on the desk, and she's kind of leaning in a little bit more seriously.
Caleb's gonna like close his hand around the key just in case she tries to swipe it.
She doesn't look like she's going to take it. In fact, I will say that she has no interest in touching that item.
Oh.
She is simply trying to convey something to you, and I'll have you probably roll a brains roll in this moment to see if you can catch her drift.
This is too much brains.
As she kind of leans in a little bit, like over the food, and goes, "I understand."
Can I try and catch a drift?
Yeah, you both can.
Please, you can catch a lot more drifts than me. That is a 3.
Okay, brains is going to be 5.
Oh, I could put like in 2. Yeah, I got more than enough adversity tokens. I'll just throw in 2.
Jimmy and Caleb, you two are still kind of confused because you're not 100% sure what's going on. Like you understand what's going on, but you also don't understand what's going on. But when she says, "I understand," you both understand that she's not necessarily talking about the fact that you guys came from the future or that this has to do with the game. You can both see in her eyes that she has no idea about any of that. She does not actually believe that you guys are from the future. That would make no sense to her. You know what I mean? When she says, "I understand," she believes that you two are on the same path as her. Like that she believes that you were sent there to help her. Because there's something about that key, how it just changed in front of her while you were holding it and stuff like that, that she is kind of like, "Oh, I get it. Got it." And as this is going on, Caleb, you understand as the key changes because you know that the obsidian box is directly linked to you. So like how you're thinking, what you're wanting, and it changes. It's changed before, and now it's changed again because you want something. And you haven't really figured out how to like make it do what you want all the time. But you asked it a question. Jimmy, though, you recognize the shape of the talisman. You recognize who this woman might be. And so in this moment, I'll kind of let you guys kind of slow down time in between her saying, "I understand," and in the next moment, someone's going to walk through the kitchen door. What do you guys want to do or say in this moment to either one another or to her or what?
Well, firstly, Caleb is pocketing the key. That's like his action.
Okay.
I think Jimmy, you can see Jimmy like physically grow a little bit more confident. Like the situation has become, he understands it better. He feels more in control. And so he'll just say to Madam Shady, "You gonna help us now?"
Do you say her name out loud?
No. But he, in his head, he knows who it is, or at least he believes he knows.
Okay. She kind of looks at you and she goes, "Help you? You're here to help me." And as she says that, someone walks in the front door. This is an older woman. She's probably like in her 40s or like early 50s, but she is wearing a long trailing like silk robe. She has her hair up in curlers. Her hair is like a a bleach blonde, clearly not natural. She is wearing a blood red lipstick, which she clearly applied before she came down here, look presentable. And she kind of opens up the door and kind of sees all of you. And she looks at you two, a little surprised because she probably wasn't expecting to see you. And then she looks at this woman and she goes, Grace, honey, there are people there. We have guests. What's happening? Did you get the item? And before she can really respond to you, Jimmy, she turns to this woman and takes out something from her duster. And it is, from what you can tell, the exact same talisman you have. I'm assuming you would not have that on your person.
No, I think Jimmy just kind of grabbed it and then forgot about it for a while.
Okay. She takes that out and hands it to this woman who kind of takes it and she's like, "Ooh, perfect." And while she's doing that, she looks even more like serious. And now she's kind of like, I need to get back to work. And so she looks at you two. All right, we don't have much time. Today is the night of the sacrifice. And if we want to stop them from completing this ritual to the goddess, we need to destroy this item that I was able to steal tonight. And she looks at the other woman. Clem, can you get everything ready? And the woman that's standing there holding the item, she's like, well, I actually haven't heard from Horace in a couple of hours. I thought he had gone to get what...
Did you say Horace?
And she kind of looks at you. I'm sorry? Because she wasn't paying attention.
Horace Mattentalk?
She sort of actually shrugs at the last name and she's like, oh, I actually have never asked his last name. I feel so bad about that, but I don't know. I'm sorry, sweetie. And she kind of looks back at this woman who she's called Grace. And Grace kind of looks back at you two because she's still quite confused. But then she's like, okay, look, we don't have time for a lot of this. So, okay, the plan was for me to secure the artifact, which I did, which was very difficult because those psycho nuns came literally out of nowhere, and so did you two. But, I mean, you have the and she's sort of pointing at Caleb. She's like, you have the thing. I don't actually know what it is, but I know it's important, and you're supposed to do something with it, right?
You sound like you know about as much as I do. Yeah, sure.
She clearly does. She literally is like, I'm not actually sure who you guys are, but she thinks she understands. You guys aren't sure what's actually happening. It's a bit of a show.
Caleb's just gonna put both hands down on the table, kind of mimicking what she did earlier. Okay, if you want our help, which apparently I'm guessing now you do, you're gonna have to answer a few questions for us.
She kind of looks at you as if, again, you've lost your mind. She's like, I don't want your help, child.
Who am I talking to in this case?
So there are two women in the room. One, her name is Grace, and the other, her name is Clem. Clem is clearly the rich proprietor of the home, and Grace is the woman you guys have been following.
Have we been talking to Grace or Clem in those last few seconds?
So you guys are mainly talking to Grace because Clem doesn't know you guys. She just answered your question when you asked about Horace.
Okay. Yeah, so Caleb's gonna actually stick with what he says. He says, yeah, you probably want her help now.
And she, again, kind of stipulates, like, no, of course not. I don't even know who the hell you are. What I need is to get this done. And I assumed because you have that item that you are here to help, but it sounds like you're not. So you can stay here and do whatever you want. I literally don't care. I have other things, more important things to do. If she kind of looks at Clem, because you can see that she's kind of getting frustrated. If we do not do this right now, this town will be swallowed into an endless abyss.
Shit.
Something no one even knows if there's a bottom to. Clem looks at both of you as she's holding the artifact and she goes, we call it the pit. in this moment, I think you guys have learned a lot of information. And I think you guys can probably put together a couple of things. Number one, you're in 1927.
Makes sense.
You are in 1927. How? You're not sure, but Caleb has a suspicion that it has something to do with the artifact you have. And so you're a little confused on why Jimmy's there, I will say. Another thing is that these two people that are in front of you have no idea who you are, and they don't necessarily care about you or like your well-being. Like, they don't hate you or anything, but they are clearly on some sort of a mission that is more important. And so they are literally just looking at you two as lost children right now. They don't know who you are or what you're doing here. I'll say the last thing you guys learn is that as this is all going down, as Clem and Grace are kind of talking with one another, talking to you, explaining like the severity of the situation, you all also hear a noise coming from another end of the hall. It almost sounds like a muffled noise of someone maybe screaming or pounding on something. And this takes specifically Clem's attention away as she goes back to the hallway to see what's happening. So, what are we all doing in this moment?
For the sake of one last attempt, because clearly no one is opening their eyes here aside from me and Jimmy. We're from the future. Grace, take us seriously. Something weird is happening, and I got bits and pieces from it, and I think I can put the rest together if you'll just listen to us.
And Jimmy, what are you doing?
Jimmy has just been kind of absorbing all of this information. I think he's following Caleb's lead at the moment, but he's just mulling things over in his head.
Okay. Grace kind of looks at you two, and she grabs her duster and begins to put it back on. And she goes, yes, you have said you are from the future. You've said that a couple of times now. Listen, you two, there's plenty of food here. There's rooms upstairs. Clem will get you situated. I have to finish this tonight. If I'm alive by the end of the day, perhaps we can talk more about this. But at the moment, this is taking priority. And as she says priority, you all hear a scream and a big bang as something from the wing that you guys came from kind of like almost like explodes. And Grace runs out of the kitchen, and in the hallway, you guys can kind of see there's smoke billowing from the location where you guys walked in. And when she sees that, she just comes back into the kitchen. She's like, change the plans. Let's go. And she runs out. And you need to follow her or stay there. Snap decision, flight.
Flight or fight?
No fight. There's no one to fight.
Oh, there's no one to
You
fight.
just need to run. Yeah.
Yeah, we're running for it.
Yeah, Jimmy will take off after them. He's not just going to let them get away. If my D4s will let me.
Yeah, she runs down the opposite direction of where the smoke is coming. And when you go to get into the hallway and you follow her, I will tell you what you guys see. But she clearly knows this place like the back of her hand. So she knows where she's going. So if you do not follow her and you lose her, you will need to make another roll to figure out how to get out. Okay, so that's what's happening. So your first roll right now is just going to be to keep up with her. So that's going to be another flight. DC is going to be, let's say 5 for now, because she's going to try not.
Oh.
Well, hold up. Mine exploded. I rolled a 4 and then I rolled a 1. So I at least got a 5.
I thought that was 2 1s. I was about to be like, oh my gosh. Okay. Okay. Are you doing anything about that?
I've wasted so many adversity tokens.
Can I spend adversity tokens to help him out? Because I don't want to just leave him behind.
Yes, you guys are together. You can.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm going to spend 2 adversity tokens to give him a 5.
Thank you.
Because I like loyalty.
Okay, I'm gonna say, Jimmy, you are the first to act, and you run directly after her. And as you get out into the hallway, you can clearly see that there is a huge billowing fire that is literally starting to consume this beautifully decorated but very wooden and highly lacquered house from the inside. And it is moving towards you two very quickly. You don't see any people, you don't see anything here. This place is going to go down very quickly. This fire is huge. When you turn around, you see that Grace is already kind of halfway down the hallway, but she stops to turn around to make sure that you can see her. But she's like, you need to book it. But you can see that she stops at the end of the hallway. Caleb, you come out and see the same thing. I will say that, Jimmy literally grabs you and you two run down the hallway together. You get to the end of the hallway where Grace was, and she's already around a corner, and she is busting down a door that is going down to some stairs. And she's just kind of like, quickly. And she's kind of like telling you guys to follow her, and she goes down the stairs. And so I will say you guys are going to continue to follow her since you both made your DCs. But as you get to the end or at the bottom of these stairs, you no longer see her because you are in essentially, it's kind of like a billiards room, kind of like, a fun place to just have like a smoker's chair there. And there's like a fireplace and a billiard table. So it's like a fun cave. But you guys are downstairs. And you don't see her in this room. This room is fairly large, but you do hear that someone has gone through one of the other doors. Again, this place is massive. And there is a door on the other side of the room that's open, and you can assume that that's where she went since there's no other doors.
Okay. That's, I guess, the plan then. Go to that room.
Yeah, I'll follow suit. Is there anything interesting in this room as we pass through it?
You can take a moment to look around. Just a quick eye if you're looking for anything in particular.
I'll do a quick side eye to see if there's anything that just stands out as interesting or like prominent.
I'll say that there's a big picture down here, an oil painting. Again, beautifully ornate, a nice frame, a golden frame, and it's above like the fireplace, and it's of a man.
Oh.
You can kind of see that from the corner of your eye. And I'll say that you can see who the guy is. Like you see the man of the portrait. But if you wanted to like investigate it, you would need to slow down and do a brains roll. So you can either just look at it for the moment and at least you'll have that in your mind for future reference, or you can investigate it right now.
I want to try and at least remember it enough that later on I can see if I can figure out who the guy is. Okay.
Cast your eye around the room. You don't see much of interest except for this big oil painting that has a man standing in it. And I'll say you remember that he's like clean shaven. He has like dark brown hair, and it's kind of like swooped back. It's clear that this is a portrait that he has, styled himself for. He's wearing a vest, and over the vest, he's wearing like a maroon jacket, and he's holding like a pipe. He's quite attractive, but he looks around his like mid-30s, and that's who you see in the photo. So I'll say that you can remember that description. Was Caleb doing anything?
I think Caleb's in a little survival mode. I think he's just getting ready to run out of this burning place.
Yeah, no problem. You two quickly make your way across the hall or across this room through that door. And through that door is a short passage that goes to a grate that looks exactly like where you guys entered the sewer before. You can see that is where Grace is. And she's trying to jimmy that open as you guys finally catch up with her.
I'll go to help her open it if she needs it.
Okay, she does that. As she looks back, though, she looks worried. She's not looking at you two. She's letting you help her, but she's looking back into the house. She's like, God damn it, Clem. And she's still opening the gate with you. Are you doing something else, Caleb?
You know what? Screw trying to like jimmy the door open. Caleb just wants to break it open so we can get out.
Okay, roll your brawn. DC's gonna be, this is an iron gate, but...
Can he use a weapon so he can use fight?
Yeah, if you have something.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure Caleb can find something like is there a spare fireman's axe somewhere around or something?
Not where you are at the moment. You would have had to. Probably where you're at right now is like not a janitor's closet, but it's where they would keep like old supplies. So you might be able to look around and find like a pipe or something.
Yeah.
Fools,
Absolutely.
firemen didn't exist in the 20s.
You pick that up and you find some sort of metal item on the ground. You pick it up and you bash it. DC is going to be, let's say it's going to be a 7.
Oh, there we go. That's an 8.
Okay. So yeah, you two are trying to like jimmy it open, and you just see Caleb basically bash it open with whatever the item is. But I will say that the item that you have in your hand, Caleb, that actually bends, because when it hits the iron gate, it wasn't powerful enough. So it like bends in half essentially, but you're still able to bash it open.
Dexterity is great, but you know what? How about we just break it open?
Grace just sort of like runs past, and she is essentially making a beeline for the middle of the grass of this huge lawn to basically see the damage. So she runs out, and I'm assuming you guys run out behind her. She gets down to the major grass area, and as you all are coming out of this other side entrance, you can see, again, coming from the shadows, are these tall, thin nuns wearing all black from head to toe, carrying these huge scythes. And they are slowly walking towards you. And she kind of makes her way across the lawn to the car and turns around. And you both see also that this huge mansion goes up in flames very quickly. It's a huge bellowing fire that is consuming the entire place. And she is clearly looking like at the windows, at the doors, to see if she can like catch Clem. And she's very, very distraught. And you can kind of, and I'll say you guys don't even have to roll for this because you don't know this woman, but you can tell that she's very, very distraught right now. And she's kind of probably thinking if maybe she should try to go back inside to find Clem. So that's kind of like what she's struggling with. But you guys are being surrounded by these nuns. The huge Clementine Manor is on fire. You guys can hear ringing of a bell as someone in town rings a bell that is saying that something is on fire. And, it'll be probably like 2 hours before some water gets here. So essentially you guys have lost this house, and no one really knows where Clementine is. But I will say that in this moment, you guys can decide to either continue to follow Grace. She is going to get into the car, and she has her pistol out because she is trying to fight off the nuns, but she is going to head to where she needs to go. But as she's like getting in the car, she stops and kind of looks at you two. Clementine had the artifact. So in the moment where Grace is on the other side of the car, you guys are being surrounded by these nuns with the scythes, and the huge mansion called Clementine Manor is being burned to the ground with, you believe, the woman you all had just met for like 2 seconds, Clementine, with the artifact that she was supposed to be doing something with. I will say that in this moment, you both snap back to reality. You're now back in wherever you were before this whole adventure began. And we're going to do a bit of a mini epilogue in the last couple of minutes where you two can like try to find each other or like figure out what just happened. But essentially what happens is you all were doing whatever you were doing at the school. Then you snapped into this world, or this 1927 version of Shady Creek. And now in the middle of that chaos, you two are back with all the memories of what just happened and feelings as if it just happened 5 seconds ago, wherever you were the moment that you went back into this time.
Well, first things first, Caleb is 100% checking to see if the key is, or if the disc turned into a key.
Okay. And what is Jimmy doing?
Jimmy is immediately changing plans and is going to go try and find like the school library or anywhere where he can look into past events. Or he's going to find the history teacher.
Okay. I think in this moment, before Jimmy does that, I think for Caleb and Jimmy, you guys weren't together when you went back in time, and you weren't together when you came back. I think it would make sense if you wanted to at least get eyes on the other person, because at this point, the only confirmation that you guys had this experience together was when you had the experience together. So now back in 1996, and you two aren't together right now, I feel like you both would be asking the question of, was I just there, or was I and Jimmy there? Or vice versa.
I think perhaps maybe Caleb finds Jimmy as Jimmy's going to his place, because Jimmy just assumes that it was real and that it happened. And he immediately goes to, how does this affect what we already know and what we already have?
I will say, though, that you both don't necessarily know that you're both back either, because you're not together.
Oh, that's fair.
I mean, Caleb's not going to bring it up, but if Jimmy brings it up,
Oh, yeah.
At the moment, you guys are just wherever you were when you went back to this world. So, Caleb, you were in the middle of a hallway by yourself, and Jimmy, you were at the clubs area. You guys are not near each other and can't see each other. What are you doing in this moment?
How much time before the assembly?
I would say at this point, you still have like an hour.
Okay.
There's still plenty of people milling around. There's still people like taking tours and going to classes and checking stuff out. People haven't even started filing into the auditorium yet.
I think Jimmy knows that he's going to have a difficult time finding Caleb if Caleb's here. So he will wait to do that until near assembly, because then everyone has to go there. And if Caleb's going to be there, Jimmy can find him then and grab him then.
Okay.
So Jimmy will go try to find like a school library just to spend like 20 or 30 minutes seeing what he can figure out. And then he's going to leave to the assembly early to try and see if he can grab Caleb before it starts.
Okay. And then Caleb, what are you doing?
I think Caleb kind of wants to just move on with this, but like he has other stuff he can do. Sorry, I'm indecisive at the moment. 1 second.
And of course, if I see Caleb at all while I'm walking around the school, I'll stop and talk to him.
Yeah, I think at this moment, it's just whatever you would do in this situation at this very moment. So, like, I just need to know, like, what direction you're going, what's in your mind of what you want to be doing in this second.
Oh, in that case, Caleb's just gonna pretend like it didn't happen. Why look crazy talking about something that clearly no one else is gonna believe, right?
Okay. Then for Jimmy, I need you to roll a charm. DC is going to be 14. And then for Caleb, I need you to roll a grit. DC is going to be 16.
6. I think that's the first charm roll I've ever rolled with Jimmy.
6.
Okay. Jimmy, you were at the clubs area just walking around, and you make the decision right now to go find the library in a school that you've never been to before, but you want to try and find your way. Now, the school is large, and you haven't yet taken a tour. You haven't done any of the things to do before you were actually going to see the rooms and things. So as you go from like the clubs area to kind of like finding your way, you are going to come up against, staff or teachers. and they're going to be like, hey, did you get all of your things? Did you, do the things you are supposed to be doing? Like, where are you going? That type of stuff. So that's what that charm was for. I'm going to say the first teacher you come up to is a fairly nice, man, but he kind of is like, do you need some help? You know where you're going? Have you gotten everything? He kind of looks at your empty book bag. Have you been in line yet? Do you have your ID? Like, what's going on?
Oh, I just wanted to take a look at the library real quick, and then I was going to grab my stuff before assembly.
Yeah, no problem. The library, though, because it's first day, they are going to ask you to see your ID. So I would suggest getting your ID first, and then you can go to the library.
Just so I know, where is it from here?
He kind of looks behind him and points into a direction to the left side of like the U shape. He's like, yeah, it's just through there. There should be some signs. All of the important places like the auditorium and the library do have signs that say, library this way, auditorium this way. So that.
Okay, thank you.
So you are making your way there. Caleb, you rolled a 6. This 100% did happen. There's really no denying it this time. And the reason why it happened is because indeed you do have a obsidian black key in your book bag.
He's not really going to say anything about it, actually. Even if it's real, even if it entirely exists, he refuses to admit it. Well, out loud.
Well, there's nobody around you. You're by yourself in the hallway, and you simply just know that you have the key. So I will say that with that low grit check, you have not been able to successfully deny it from yourself.
Right. That's fine.
However, you can deny it to anybody else, however you'd like to do that. But nobody knows because from what you guys can see as you come back to wherever you were and you look around, it doesn't look like anything has changed for anyone else. It looks like literally a moment in time, you all stepped out and stepped back in and no time has passed. So Jimmy, you head to the library, and Caleb, where are you going?
Caleb is continuing with his classes. That's about it.
So classes haven't started yet. Are you just looking for your classes?
Yeah, he's just going to busy himself. I don't think he wants to do anything out of the ordinary now.
Okay, so you start walking around. Jimmy, you are at the library, and the library is kind of busy because people are just in there and just checking it out and walking back and forth and checking out the books and stuff. What are you trying to do specifically?
I think you would try to slide in with a group of people as they go in.
Okay.
And then if he gets in, that's the real question.
So people aren't going into the library in groups.
Okay.
The library is fairly large, but the entrance is small. It's just double doors. And there's a staff person who is the librarian at the front. But there's also somebody else at the front of the door that you recognize, and it's Maya.
Oh, then I'll go up to Maya.
Okay. She sort of just looks at you. Please tell me you didn't go up the tree.
I did not.
Good.
I wanted to, but I did not. Have you been into the library yet?
She's like, oh, yeah. I already did a whole tour. There is an amazing zoology section. I already have a couple of books I want to check out.
Well, that's cool.
Have you done anything else other than your tree escapade?
No, not yet. I wanted to take a look at the clubs and see what they had going on there, but I didn't get a chance to yet.
Oh, they are starting a tree climbing club. So I hear.
I'm not surprised. Willow makes way.
She tells you that there's a really cool section in the library that's all about the founder of Shady Creek and how she has, read a couple of those books and she's even gonna check some out. You guys are just chit-chatting. As you guys are chit-chatting, the person who's standing there lets a couple of people in after they've checked their ID, and then they go inside just for a moment, who's the librarian. And so this would be your window to go inside.
Okay. I'll ask hey, Mike, can you show me where those books on the founding of Shady Creek are?
Sure. She just turns around and goes with you. And I'm going to say that the person doesn't pay attention. in that section, there's a bunch of stuff. Some things are checked out, some things are not. There are some really cool books about like Shady Creek and like how it was founded and all that stuff. But what's really most interesting about this section is that there is a big plaque, and the plaque kind of has like a map in it. And there's a picture that's like tucked into the corner of it of a beautiful, huge mansion. And it says Clementine Manor. And then there is a kind of like a sidebar of all of the like original founders, or the founders and like the important people of that time when Shady Creek was founded. And the very first name you see is Madam Shady Creek, Madam Grace Shady. And you do see a picture of her. It's grainy. It's kind of like, it is in color, but it's like really grainy and really old. But you do indeed see the same woman that you saw when you went back in time. So I will say that is kind of you guys' like epilogue to your side adventure.
Can I ask one last question?
Sure.
This is probably just a rabbit trail, but the painting of the gentleman on the wall, was there any photos of him?
You do not see any photos of someone who looks like that gentleman here. You do see a list of names, but you did not get the name of the person in the photo.
He takes a look over the list of names, just grabs any that seem interesting, and then that would wrap it up.
Yeah, you just do that. You have a list of names that are on that plaque.
Cool.
And that is the end of our adventure for today. Thank you all for listening. We hope you are enjoying the campaign. Don't forget that you can listen to the podcast on the Aging Journey podcast website, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Music, and YouTube. Links will be in the description below. Don't forget to follow or subscribe. You can also support the podcast on Patreon or join our Discord. Enjoy the journey.